So, I just spent 100 hours digging into some of the most intense prophecies in history and matching them up with today's headlines. And you are not going to believe what's happening right now. Seriously. We're talking about a huge military coalition forming up in the north, an ancient prophecy about Iran being shattered, and the one country everyone keeps looking for, the United States, is basically a ghost in the final script. You're going to want to stick around because by the end of this, you'll see the secret peace plan that changes absolutely everything.
Okay, let's just dive right into this. A lot of prophecy experts are pointing to this specific kind of lost prophecy back in Jeremiah 49. It's about a place called Elam, which, you guessed it, is modern-day Iran. And it's a real head-scratcher because the Bible seems to talk about Iran's future in two completely different, almost contradictory ways.
So first things first, let's get our geography straight. The Bible talks about Elam. Well, this ancient kingdom was located right in the heart of what we now call southwestern Iran. And this geographical link is so important because it pulls this ancient text right into the 21st century, connecting it directly to the nation of Iran today.
And this is where it gets really fascinating. It's like the Bible lays out two totally separate destinies. On one hand, you've got Persia, mentioned in Ezekiel 38 as a key player in a military coalition against Israel. That sounds a lot like the hostile regime, right? But then you have Elam in Jeremiah 49, which talks about the people being scattered, but with a promise of future restoration. It's two different paths for the very same nation. And the prophecy is incredibly specific. It says God himself will break the bow of Elam, the very source of their military might, and scatter their leaders. I mean, this isn't some vague fortune cookie warning. It's targeting the heart of the nation's power.
So what does a bow mean for us today? Well, back then, Elam was famous for its incredible archers. That was their bow. But in the 21st century, experts look at that and see a clear modern equivalent: Iran's prized missile program and its nuclear ambitions. And the prophecy says God is going to shatter that very thing.
You know, for a long, long time, people just wrote this off as ancient history. But then you look at recent headlines: mysterious strikes on nuclear facilities, top military leaders dying suddenly, and it really feels like that prophetic lens is finally snapping into focus. But here's the most incredible part. While there's judgment for the regime, there's a promise of redemption for the people. And if you want to get a sense of just how big this spiritual side is, look at this number. Even with intense persecution, the fastest growing church in the world is exploding in the underground right inside Iran. Some estimates are as high as 3 million secret believers. It is a stunning picture of that promise to restore the people of Elam, and it really shows you God's heart for them. All right, let's shift gears to the next piece of this 2,600-year-old puzzle, because the book of Ezekiel lays out this massive multi-nation coalition, a deadly invasion force that sets its sights on the nation of Israel. So the big question is, who exactly is in this alliance? And again, this isn't some vague prediction. The ancient text actually names the key members, almost like it's setting up the pieces on a cosmic chessboard. Okay, here's the lineup. It's led by a really mysterious figure named Gog, from a land called Magog, which the Bible says is in the remote parts of the north. Now, most scholars today look at that and point straight to modern-day Russia. And check out his key allies on the list. Persia, that's Iran again. Kush, which is Sudan and Ethiopia. Put, modern Libya. And Gomer and Tagarma, which lines up with modern-day Turkey. And get this, the prophecy even gives a crystal clear motive for this surprise attack. It says the coalition gets a wicked thought. They want to seize plunder and take spoil. They see an opportunity to invade a restored, prosperous nation of Israel that's dwelling safely, basically lulled into a false sense of security. Now, you have to understand, for decades, people looked at this specific alliance, Russia, Iran, and Turkey, and thought, no way, that's politically impossible. But right now, today, these countries are aligning their interests closer than they ever have in modern history. We are literally watching the prophetic clock tick towards a conflict so huge, the text says God himself has to step in and supernaturally stop it. Okay, we've got to pause for a second because this is really important. History isn't just a random series of events. It's a story with a direction. And if you want to understand these times from trusted teachers, you need to know we're on a massive mission here at Sermon Academy to train the next generation of leaders. And we honestly can't do it without you. So please head over to sermonacademy.com/donate and help support the mission. All right, this brings us to the elephant in the room, the question that drives everybody crazy. Where is America? I mean, as the world's only superpower, why is the US completely silent during what's described as one of the biggest battles in history? Well, scholars have basically landed on three main possibilities. Number one is decimation. Some kind of surprise attack, maybe nuclear, just takes the US completely off the board. Number two is decay. We basically rot from the inside out, culturally and morally, and we lose our global power status. And then there's a third theory, and this one is maybe the most fascinating.
So let's look closer at this young lions theory. Some scholars think America is mentioned, just indirectly. The text says the merchants of Tarshish, with all its young lions, will protest. Now, Tarshish is often seen as Great Britain, an ancient sea power. So the young lions, well, that would be its former colonies, including the United States. And what do they do when this massive invasion happens? They just offer a weak verbal protest. They basically ask, hey, have you come to take stuff? And that's it. They don't intervene. Which one do you think it is? Let me know in the comments.
Now, with all this talk of war and invasion, you'd think the story of the Middle East ends in total disaster, but it doesn't. In fact, all of this conflict is really just setting the stage for what you could call God's Plan A for peace. And honestly, it is absolutely stunning. Just listen to this incredible prophecy from the book of Isaiah. It actually describes a future where there's a literal highway connecting Egypt to Assyria, that's modern-day Iraq, with Israel right in the middle. And together, these three former enemies become a blessing to the entire world.
I mean, this whole idea is that the story doesn't end in war. It ends in total reconciliation. This highway of holiness shows historic enemies, Egypt, Assyria, Israel, all worshiping together. We're not talking about some shaky political truce here. This is described as the final ultimate end to that ancient family feud between the sons of Isaac and Ishmael.
And here's the key takeaway, the thing I really hope you get from all this. God's redemptive heart is for all people. This whole prophetic story isn't just about judgment for some and blessing for others. It ends with this beautiful picture of reconciliation, with people from every nation and every ethnic group, including the very ones we've been talking about, standing together. So why does any of this ancient stuff matter to us right here, right now? Well, it's because many people believe the prophetic clock has already started ticking, and that we are the generation watching all of these signs finally start to line up. Here's the thing to remember. For centuries, for almost 2,000 years, the Jewish people were scattered all over the globe. Then, on May 14, 1948, Israel became a nation again. So many prophecy scholars look at that one event and call it the super sign, the single moment that started the final countdown toward the fulfillment of all these things.
Look, at the end of the day, these prophecies aren't meant to scare you. They're meant to prepare you. They're like a giant wake-up call to pay attention, to understand the huge story that we're all a part of, and to make sure you're ready. So the final question isn't about dates or headlines. It's much more personal. It's simply this: are you prepared?